Welcome back to LOS Live. Yeah, you're right. That's it. It's LOS Live now. We changed it. It was Loan Officer Success, and we're just shortening it up and making it way cooler. And so, Coach, that means we got to get way cooler ourselves. Coach's Corner. I'm Coach Rick Koenig. No, wait a minute. I'm Devin Dubuc.
We're having fun
Coach
today.
Rick.
The weekend hasn't even started yet.
The weekend. It's a long weekend, Coach. What weekend is this? What do we got going on for those
Well,
folks?
I know this will come
up?
out after the 4th of July weekend, but at least here on the Eastern time zone, we're in the afternoon. So there's people around here already leaving and shutting down and going for a long vacation or a long weekend. And you know what? Hey, take advantage of that. Do that because as of, what was it, Tuesday at noontime,
That's it.
we were 50 on June the 1st or July the 1st, we were 50% through the year.
50%.
So,
That's it.
yeah, man, in a 365 year, it was that was day, 182 and a half, at noontime. So, there's a lot of people out there that are looking, going, oh my God, it's the 4th of July. They're already talking about kids going back to school and this, that, and the other thing. But, the important thing is, how are you doing so far this year? Where are you at for the goal you set at the beginning of the year?
Well, and we talked about this in the green room, or the orange room, I think is what we're calling it, Coach. But, effective, we were in the room and, where's your mindset? Is the year half over or is it halfway started? Right. And with that being said, what are you going to do with that second half of the year? If you're not on pace to be where you want to be, it's okay. Right. We've got a whole 6 months more to make that happen. So I'll let you lead back in with that.
Yeah, you hear all the time, hey, you can have a bad day, but don't have a bad 2 days. You can have a bad week, but don't have 2 bad weeks. You can have a bad month. Well, depending on whether you've done good, bad, or indifferent through the first 6 months, none of that matters because this Monday, or whether you're hearing this a week after the 4th of July, the next Monday that's coming up, prepare for that Monday.
Start now.
Revamp your schedule. Look at what you haven't done. What do you need to do? Come up with a couple of the things that were on your list that to get to your goal, you now make them non-negotiable. These are things I'm going to do every single day until I get to my goal. Because, man, we had all the excitement on MLO Live the other day.
We did.
Jason Sprague, man, Jason up in Michigan, changed companies, and all of a sudden, he's already outperformed all of last year, halfway through this year, and how do you do something like that?
Let's talk about that, man. So you mentioned Jason Sprague and you mentioned MLO Live. So let's give a shout out to our buddy Scott Hudspeth over at MLO Live. Yes, LOS Live, MLO Live. It's a thing. Get used to it. But at the end of the day, Scott's running a morning show Monday through Thursday. If you're not checking that out, just do MLOlive.com. And we'll probably have that down here in the description if you're watching in. But MLOlive.com, and you get to hear from some of these great guests he's having on. So he had Jason Sprague on, and what Jason was talking about is in the last 6 months, he's done as much business as he did all of last year. Right? So I want you to really let that sink in, because what we just talked about was we're halfway through the year. And if you're looking at that mark and you're going, man, this year's almost over, there's no way I'm not going to be able to perform, I'm going to call BS. Because here's Jason Sprague, who in the first 6 months of this year has outperformed his entire year from last year. And guess what? You got 6 months left to get out there and get after it. And Coach, I love that you said non-negotiables. One of my non-negotiables is I'm on my MLO Live every single morning. Why? Because I'm hearing from top tier people like Jason out there, and I'm hearing what they're doing to create successes inside of their business. And we're also bringing people on the podcast every week because, again, same thing. That's a non-negotiable for me. And I'm learning from all these folks what they're doing to create great successes in their business. Then we're taking that back to our team. We're teaching them and coaching them. So our team's having those same successes, right? And there's a pattern here. And it goes back to that word you just said, non-negotiables.
Yeah, there's got to be non-negotiables, because if you look at the production, and this is a statistic I just saw, I don't know who posted this online, but I made a copy of it. if you really want to see where you place within the industry right now and how little of a commitment I think it takes to go to the next level. 20%. So there's, according to the numbers, and this is from over the last few weeks ago, uh, there are 178 licensed loan officers
That's it.
in the industry. 20% of those, 35,600, are doing less than 12 units a year, 11 or less. The next group is 25%, 44,500, are doing 12 to 24
The
units
24.
a year,
Yep.
1 to 2 a month. And then if you look at who's doing 3 from 25 to 36, that's another 20%, another 35,000. You've got
65%.
65% of the industry doing less than 3 loans a month. And yet, what's the good news that we've seen and heard? The good news we've seen and heard, listings are up.
Yeah.
And every market has their neighborhoods and areas where if the right house goes up, there's still bidding wars going on. Maybe some of the areas that got a little oversaturated, maybe that's not the case. Maybe they're staying on the market for a week or two. But the good houses, I believe in 90% or 95% of the markets are going quick, and you're still having multiple offers on them.
Yeah, there's a few sticky markets out there, right? Because I've been doing a lot of stats on this lately, but we've also debunked some other markets. I was on with Ian a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the North Carolina market over in Charlotte, and there were a lot of folks saying, "Hey, look, I think Redfin put out a report, kind of made everybody going, oh well, that's why we're not having success, right?" And North Carolina folks were going, well, hold on a second, if it's a buyer's market, maybe I should ask for more negotiations. Charlotte is not. Charlotte's still a seller's market. Their homes are actually moving in less than 40 days from list to sell. Now, you've got some folks down in South Florida. They do have stickier market. Things are taking 87 days to move. And in those cases, it may be more of a buyer's market. So you need to make sure that you're looking at your stats and understanding where you're at and what's happening. But there's still other markets in Florida that are actually really hot markets right now. In
Right.
fact, still in part of the southern parts of the state and some of the central parts of the state. So again, we can't use those as crutches to say nobody's closing transactions, because that's not true. 65% of loan officers are doing less than 3 transactions a month, but that still leaves another 35% of loan officers out there that are just getting it done. In fact, 10% of loan officers are
Yeah.
closing 100 or more transactions a year.
Isn't that
Okay.
crazy?
So how do you get to that 10%, right? Is it, no, I can't do that. That's just so-and-so, and he's a superpower, or she's got a superpower. And you know what their superpower is, Coach?
They block everything out. That's what it is.
Non-negotiables.
No bullshit. Excuse my language, but
That's
they
good.
don't listen to the garbage that's going on. You can spin statistics to almost say anything you want.
That's
But,
right.
when you hear these different people writing reports and telling you how bad things are, man, I listen to one guy. There's a podcast out there. I listen to Logan Motoshito, or this guy, he knows his stuff. Probably
Yeah.
the best guru out there in the market. He talks about his charts and all that kind of stuff that he follows. And when you listen to somebody like that, there's nothing over the last 2 years that has led me to believe that if you're dedicated and you're doing what it takes to be a full-time loan officer, and I said that on purpose, full-time,
Yeah, that's right.
40 hours a week, I don't believe most of these people are working at least the right way 40 hours a week if they're not doing, 3 or more deals. And I know some people are working really hard to get those 1 or 2 deals a month in, and I pray that they do better. But there's definitely hours in the day that they have time to have those non-negotiables,
Yeah.
to do the things that they need to do, and then just add one additional thing. I don't care whether it's sending a text on the end of the week saying, hey, good luck this weekend. If you need anybody pre-approved, call me. If it's that one thing where you're sending, 5 thank you notes out a week to somebody just to say, hey, I was thinking about you this week. Hope everything's going well. If you can need anybody pre-approved, let me know. I mean, the cost of doing some of the small things is just a few minutes. And
Well,
it's just amazing that people aren't willing to do that one thing. So we're there. We're at halfway through the year. You know, you're somewhere in relationship of getting to your goal, good, better, and different. And what are you going to change come the next Monday after this podcast? What are you going to change that's going to take you to the end of the year to help you meet at least your new goal for the next 6 months?
Well, I got a couple ideas there, right?
Yep,
So one of the things you talk about is there are some folks out there that are working really, really, really hard to get those 2 deals a month. And
they
we don't
are.
want to discount that. But what I also challenge you to look at, if you are one of those loan officers that's working really hard, is to look at the pool of agents that you're actually actively working with. And they may be great people and you may have gone very deep with them. And we're not saying not to do that, right? Like these are the people that we care about. They're part of our lives. But a lot of times what we find is the reason that that's happening is because they don't have any more business to give you, and you need to look into a fresh pool of agents. So one thing that I do a lot of is analyze originators that are out there. And what I mean by that is I bring great people on the show. When I do that, I want to look at the report card to understand what they're doing different. And then I hear from them firsthand what they're doing different, right? And one of the biggest things that I see from some of these top producers, right, folks that are closing 150, 200 transactions a year, 748 when I looked up the other day, it was unbelievable, is it's not about the fact that they have 1 or 2 great agents. They typically, even the guy that had 748 transactions, only had 4 or 5 agents that he was closing more than 5 transactions with a year. Okay.
Yeah.
But what he did have was a deep well of agents that were giving him 1 to 2 transactions. And what I mean by that is now he has hundreds of agents in his network and you go, well, I can't keep up with all that. Well, you can if you utilize a CRM system and you program it to do outreach that doesn't always require a phone call. Now, we're going to have our agents that we go deep with. We're contacting them and calling them every single week. But you're going to have those other agents, those one-offs, onesie, twosies who you've met that you're probably going to get a deal from once a year. And that's okay. You still need to be marketing to them. So let's talk about a couple of things that you can do to attract those agents, right? And a couple of things that you can do to keep those agents coming back. So the first thing that I keep hearing, and this is so consistent, is I pick up the agents I want to work with in my market by doing the research. And then I don't just always pick up the phone and call them. A lot of the times what they're doing is they're going on social media and they're friend requesting them. And then over the period of the next couple of weeks, they're liking, they're making some comments on the page. And then eventually they're reaching in for a DM and they're saying, hey, I don't know why social media thinks we need to know each other, but you keep popping up on my feed. And I love what you're doing. You may have seen me comment a few times. And, you know, we're probably going to be on the other side of a contract one day. Let's catch up and have a 15-minute coffee call, right? And now they've made the connection and they've put them in their database. So this is a great way to make the connection before the phone call. So when you pick up the phone, it's not a cold call anymore. They've actually seen you. Okay. The second thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your business card, which is your social media in 2025, is active. You want to have things on there where you're sharing stories about families that you've helped, maybe giving some good tips about things that people could be thinking about, and then sharing things that you're doing socially with your family, your kids, going out on the weekends, 4th of July. You got all kinds of stuff that you can post there, right?
Yep. You know, the social media becomes, I think, an easy non-negotiable. You know, I've always called it a power hour. You know, take a power hour, even if it's once a day. But the thing is, when you're doing the power hour, you cannot be just messing around. It's got to
You can't
be,
scroll.
it's
No
business.
scrolling
It's
allowed.
down to business. You're not
Yeah.
liking, you know, your friend's stuff and telling them how cute their kid looked, you know, swimming in the
It's
pool. What
intentional.
what you need to do too is, how many people, Devin, have you gone to their social media? You cannot find out how to get a hold of them. Now,
Yeah.
I understand with some of the women not wanting to put their phone number out there.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. There's creeps in the world, but at least have your business email address. If you have an office phone number instead of a cell phone number, get those numbers out there, you know, let these people have a way to get a
Make
hold of
yourself
you.
available.
You can do it on Facebook, LinkedIn, you can do it on your Instagram. All that stuff gives you access.
Have a link tree that people can go to where it shows them all your different sites and it has all your different phone numbers. And if you don't know what that is, let me tell you something, guys. Just go to Google, type in, how do I build a link tree? You'll figure it out in seconds and you go, oh, that was really easy. And now everybody that's in your Rolodex and the ones that aren't, that want to find you, can find you at the drop of a dime. And that's what you want. You want people looking your direction. right?
Yep. I just
And
wrote
that's
that
what's really
down 'cause I've
important.
never heard of Linktree, so that's a new one for me. That's a
Yeah,
rabbit hole I can go down when I'm not in the middle of my day making my calls, you know?
that's right. That's right. And so then you want to set your non-negotiables, right? So we talk about things that you can do to get their attention, right? So that's look them up and directly communicate with them, and then
So let's
eventually,
pick three easy ones.
yep,
So you've already talked about the social media. Power hour, that's 1 hour. Even if you do it 5 hours, 1 hour a day, that's 5 hours out of a 40-hour week.
that's it.
Okay. We still got 35 hours to do. What's negotiable number two in your book?
Well, negotiable number two for me, non-negotiable
Or
is you've got to
non-negotiable?
have, yeah, you got to make the calls, right? You got to do your outreach calls. That is a note. So the social media actually for me is second. Number one for me is outreach calls. You need to set up a time of the day. And look, we do from 9 to 11 Central or 10 to 12 Eastern, but just pick it for what works in your schedule, right? If you need to jump on a call star, jump on ours. We'd love to have you, right? But at the end of the day, make it a non-negotiable, show up every day and do 2 hours of calls. And a lot of people go, man, I'm not a desk jockey. I'm not going to sit by the, that's not what this is about, right? What these phone calls are for is to network, to set up appointments or to follow up with the people we need to be following up with so that we can generate business, right? So at the end of the day, you're not a desk jockey, but to get to the appointment, to meet with the person that's going to give you the business, you got to make the outreach calls. That has to be a non-negotiable. And it can't be well, I sat down and I turned on my email and man, I just got sidetracked for the last 35 minutes working on files. Those files can wait because you're not going to have new files if you don't put that focus time on. So what you got to do is you got to shut off your email, set it up as a non-negotiable, let your agents know, hey, from 9 to 10 or 10 to 11, whatever the time is, or 9 to 11 every day, I have a meeting that it's non-negotiable. I got to be on that, but ping me. And I promise you before or after, I will be all over it. Right. So they already know what the proper expectations are. And guess what? If they're on your list, they're probably getting a phone call from you anyways, because they're one of the people that you're reaching out to.
And I think non-negotiable number three for somebody who's trying to get out of the rut, that's trying to go to closing 3 through 5.
Yes.
I think it has to be time blocking 2 times into your schedule. One is at the end of the day, you have to time block to prepare for the next day. If you come in at 8:30, 9 o'clock, whatever
Roadmap.
time you're going to come in the morning, and you don't already know exactly what your schedule is, who you're going to call, what you're going to do, then you've already started out the day behind. So time block the end of the day, whether it's a half hour, whether it's an hour, whatever you need to do, time block that power hour and time block 2 hours to make calls. That still leaves you 4 hours a day to do your other day-to-day activities. And I would think those would be three non-negotiables. If you start setting up your schedule every day, the
Yep.
night before you go, it's kind of like, what have we done? We've done it before. We've done mind dumps. I even had my wife do a mind dump the other day because we had a
That's it.
party coming up, and I said, okay, you're all worried. Mind dump. And we wrote down everything that needed to be done, including stuff that had nothing to do with the party. So I did paint a handrail and I did have to do something else
The
outside.
honey-do list.
But that mind dump, you can mind dump every day at the end of the day.
That's
You can
right.
write down what you didn't get done that you need to do tomorrow. And you know that when you walk in the door, if you start going down that list, you're going to accomplish more by being prepared than not. And if you have trouble and you need a list of better realtors to call, there's different ways to get it for free. You can look on Zillow, you can look on, call the board of realtors, you can even call your title company to see who's, a good agent out there producing, or you
Yep.
can spend a little bit of money and do one of the 5 different agencies that are out there,
There's some good
Redder,
ones, man.
MMI, Modex, Big
Model
Property
match.
Dot or wherever.
Yeah,
You know, there,
100%.
there's so many different places that you can get the good information. Don't, spend money to make money is, a good thing you can do. And if you can only afford to get on there for a month or two and then, download the number of people that you want to call and cancel it or put it on hold, do that. But
Yeah.
do something. If you haven't gotten to your goal by now, then change what you've been doing so that the next 6 months becomes what your entire future looks like.
There's one more thing I want to add in there, Coach. And going back to the database to be able to find the information on your agents. We named off a lot. I do like Redder. Again, I'm a big fan of
Mhm.
Stephen Winans, and the software is really really simplified. So no sponsorship there. But Stephen, if you want to sponsor me, I'm open. But at the end of the day, guys, this is another thing that should be a non-negotiable for you, and that's no less than 2 events per month. You need to be getting in front of people in your industry. Okay. And that can be a business group. That can be some sort of a realtor meetup. That can be an event that you plan. Right. And you don't have to plan all of them. I do recommend that if you can get to the point where you're hosting 2 classes a month, especially if you can get certified to do CE, this is another great way to get agents in front of you and become the local guru in your marketplace. But you need to be doing 2 per month. Okay. And by the way, if you're like, but I don't know what to talk about, maybe we'll cover that on the next call, or just DM us, comment below, ask me for a 1-to-1, ask Coach for a 1-to-1. I'd love to show you how to build presentations to wow people in 15 minutes. And I have that and I can show you, and it's epic, right? But you got to be getting out there, and you have to be social in this market, right? At the end of the day, you can do a lot of stuff through the phone, a lot of stuff through the internet, but I genuinely believe if you want to build a reputation in your market, get local, get in front of your people, let them know that you're part of the community and that you're actually going to give back, providing value. So, I think there's a 4th one in there, and those non-negotiables, if I could squeeze that one in, Coach.
I agree. And some of those, we're calling them non-negotiables, but some of them are just common sense that you should be doing it no matter what.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing it, then it has to become a non-negotiable.
Yeah. Well, let's leave with this. Okay. So this industry is an industry that allows you to make astronomical opportunity for income. We've got people in this industry that rival doctors, lawyers, and even professional athletes, right?
Yep.
So I want you to really think about this hard, because if you're going to start your year right now, do you want to be a professional on that level? And if you do, think about the education requirement that it takes to have all those, or the amount of time that's spent practicing as an athlete. Okay. Now take that and put it into your business. Are you working on that level? Are you putting that kind of effort into being the best that you can possibly be in this industry? Because if you're not, and you're not getting the results, maybe it's time to step up that game and level up and do the things that you need to do. Because if you want that income, it's there for the taking. Get out there and make your presence known, right? And I think that's important. I think it's really important for people to realize the opportunity is there. Are you willing to step up and take it?
And you know what? I know the MLO live show today, we talked about business development reps and licensed loan officer assistants. If you are one of those people out there that you just struggle and work so hard to get that 1 or 2 loans a month, and you are not making the kind of income you want, but technically you're excellent at taking care of the customer once you have them. Technically, you know your goals, your guidelines, you know the rules, you know how to try to get somebody in a house. Hey, give me or Devin a call, because we're always looking for people like that to add to our
Yeah.
team, because we believe in both loan officer assistants that are licensed that can take the deals. We believe in business development reps that can go out, and whether it's through real estate agents, meetup groups, lawyers, whatever, these people are rainmakers, but they don't know loan products and they don't want to deal with actually talking to the client and do the deal. We can marry you up with a partner and put you in a position to where, a good loan officer assistant license can make 80, 90, $100,000 a year and not have to go out and make all the calls. So, maybe you're at a point in your career where, hey, it just makes sense. I'd be better off being somebody's partner. Well, let's talk about it. It's not that bad of a thing, and you can make some money.
I love that, Coach. I love that. Yeah, if you're feeling a little unenergized and you want somebody else to do the heavy lifting, but you still love the industry and you love helping families, there's still some great opportunity in there. Yeah, let's do it. Well, guys, 4th of July weekend for us. You guys, we're probably wearing the wrong colors for it today. We should have been in red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're hearing this after the 4th, so I hope you had a fun, safe, amazing, happy holiday with your friends and family and celebrated this beautiful country that we live in. But we will be back next week, and we skipped a couple weeks there, so we apologize for that. We'll be back next week. We're gonna keep bringing the heat, and we may start doing these as a live stream, hence the LOS Live. So look out for that coming to a theater near you soon. Until the next time, I'm Devin Dubuc.
Coach Rick Koenig.
And man, we love having you guys here. So, like, comment, forward this to 3 people that need to hear it. And if you're not already subscribed to the LOS Live page, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you can find us at some variation of LOS Live. We'll put all those credentials down here in the bottom so that you can easily find those pages and like them. But most likely, if you're watching us, you're already here. So thanks for jumping in, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.